Hey everybody, Pat Benage here, the Evolution Coach, creator of the 6-Week Shift, the Inner Path, and author of this inspirational blog, SoulTalk. And the last few weeks I've been talking about some kind of big picture truths, and I want to continue that. And last week in particular, I talked about how everybody's path is unique. And that even though our goals are very similar and our paths might be similar, they're all unique. Everyone's path is a little bit different, or a lot different sometimes. And the key is to walk your own path and allow everybody else to walk theirs. And sometimes that's difficult to do, but that's the goal. And today, what I want to do is now talk about the commonalities of life and how, in many ways, there are similarities and there is an overall bigger picture journey that is essentially the same for all souls. Even though how we navigate and how we travel that path is unique, there is a common theme of all of it. And I'm actually going to do this in two parts because it's a pretty big topic. And it just so happens that I'm going to be in the middle of a move next week, so I'm going to record both of them today, and you'll just get them in two parts. And so, how I'd like to start this is to just give you a bigger picture of, at least from my perspective, what this soul journey is about. And I've talked about this before, but I want to go into a little more depth with it. As I've mentioned before, in my view and my understanding of truth is that we are pieces of the divine. We're a divine spark directly from Source, a part of Source that's expressing itself here. And so the journey begins in Source. That's who we are, and we're a part of that. And our journey, soul's journey, is about this process of becoming physical. And we become physical in order to experience what it is to be who we are. In other words, in the realm of an absolute where there is only source energy, there's no real way to experience what that means. There's no real way to experience who we are if there's nothing else, if we're all of it. And so the journey of soul is about creating and experiencing all of the aspects of who we are. And we do that through the infinite number of souls created and journeying out. And we also create it in our infinite experiences as soul. And so each of us and all of us are venturing out to experience these aspects of Source. And the only way to do that is by creating this universe where we have relativity, where we have diversity, where we have duality that allows us to see ourselves relative to other aspects of Source. And so we get the opportunity to experience relationships, our relationship with all other aspects of Source, all other souls, all other pieces of the divine that are here in cooperation and here in collaboration with each other to create these experiences. And that's a process that goes on, as far as I know, forever. It's a process that goes on throughout the lifespan of the universe. And perhaps even beyond that. So as soul makes this journey, as soul devolves into the physicality, into being physical, there are certain things that soul has to do in order to create that. So soul has to take on and at the same time limit different aspects of itself. So it takes on a mind, a singular mind, something that is particular to that individual soul, rather than a collective. And it has to take, so it takes on this mental body, and it takes on an emotional body, again, that is particular to the individual soul. And then ultimately it takes on a physical body. And so there's a soul body, a mental body, an emotional body, a physical body, and there's another aspect, another body, if you will, which is the causal or karmic body. Because this universe is created with cause and effect in order to experience all that we're here to experience. So that we have to see that if we take an action, if we put out a certain energy, that's the cause, and then there's an effect from that. So we see the effects of our actions, of our words, of our thoughts, of all of it. And we learn through that process. And so when soul enters into the physical world, at first it's very aware that it's part of all that is, part of Source. But as it gets into this devolution process, as it gets drawn into all of the amazing aspects of this physical universe, it begins to lose touch with that. And it never completely does, but it begins to lose sight of the fact that we're one collective. We are Source energy. We are Source manifesting as individuals. And so we begin to identify ourselves as this physical individual rather than this divine spark. And we get lost in this playground. And that's the process of devolution into away from being source and into being a physical entity. And it's this process that then begins the process of physical evolution. So the devolution of soul is also the evolution of physical. So it as soul moves into the physical realm, then it's creating something physical, and that physical part begins to evolve, and it evolves from an atom into a human being. Now, this happens over billions of years, but that's the process. And the more we evolve physically, the more we evolve into this physical world, the further we get from that connection, that oneness that is our truth. So that we hardly even know it at all. We hardly even have any recollection of that within us. We're so far removed from it, even though there's always this strand that still connects us. We move so far away that the signal's too weak, and our attention is all out here. It's all out here. And that's the purpose. That's the purpose of this whole process, is to lose ourselves in this physical universe. Because that's the way that we actually truly experience all of these aspects of ourselves. Otherwise, if we always had that awareness of who we really are, then we'd never fully be invested in this experience. We'd truly be just observing, and it would not serve the purpose that it's designed to serve, which is to help us to experience fully all aspects of who we are. And as we do that, as we get immersed in this physical universe, we become essentially our physical identity. Even though our truth is that we're soul, we're still source. That's our truth, but we're so immersed that we've essentially become, and our identity becomes, this physical being. And it's not until we reach the point in this process that we have essentially exhausted all of the experiences, and we discover at the end of that, or toward the end of that process, that we're more than the sum of our parts. The whole is always greater than the sum of its parts. And so we discover that there's more to us than just this physical, emotional, mental being. And our soul is the one thing that's always there, is this drive, this motivation, this momentum to expand and to grow and to become all that we are. And when we've exhausted all of the possibilities in this physical universe, or we reach at least a certain point where we recognize that no matter how much more we pursue in this external world, we're never going to experience the whole of us here. Then that's when we begin to take a look inside and go, okay, so what is the truth? Who am I really? Who are we really? Is this all there is? Or is there more? And we begin to look inward. And so that, and this is something that doesn't, it's not one lifetime won't get you anywhere. I mean, basically, one lifetime, it will, but it's so minuscule in terms of the whole lifespan of soul that, it's hardly worth even mentioning, except that every moment is important. Every moment is important. Every moment is an opportunity for us to experience more of who we are. And so, again, the process is to go through this devolution from the source into this physical being. And over many, many, lifetimes, millions, if not more, lifetimes, I've reached this point of being Pat Benage. And I've reached this point of saying, I know there's more. There's more to this story. And I chose to look inward. And that's where we all get to at some point. So there's, as I said, there's this, my path is different from everybody else's as far as my overall experiences and all my individual experiences. And yet, everybody's path leads them to a point where they go, there's more to it than this. I know there is. Where do I look? How do I find it? What's the truth? And we begin to look inward. And that's when the second half of the journey starts. That's what I'm going to talk about in the next Soul Talk. So, just again, this is the whole, picture again as I see it, which is certainly limited, but it continues to expand, and it's this process of soul's journey from source to human, individual, back to source. So it's a cycle, and we're on this journey, and that's my intention here, is just to maybe create a bigger picture, expand our view of this overall, so that we can have a better perspective on this moment and what's happening right now. So, again, just remember, and this is part of this whole process, always live your life from the inside out. And we'll see you next week.